Hi, this is Craig. This is another mindfulness video. This is number 3 of 6 in the Cycles to Consciousness series. This is the Great Confrontation. And this follows the first two videos, the Great Distraction and the Great Separation. So you can obviously find those videos on this channel. But just to recap, for those who haven't watched The Great Distraction or The Great Separation, which then leads into this video, The Great Distraction is, in summary, just about life, about our minds being distracted. We're constantly thinking about the future or the past. We're very rarely in the present moment unless we're practicing our mindfulness and being here now. So our mind is very distracted, rushes, thinks about this, thinks about that. The use of technology these days has increased our lack of mindfulness. We're more distracted than we've ever been. There's so much input, there's so much stuff that can distract us. And coupled with that is also the great separation, which is this belief, this um, ego belief, this mind belief that we are separate to everybody else. I am not you. That's the great separation. I believe I'm Craig and I'm a person and I'm doing my life. And if somebody over there is doing their life, I've got nothing to do with that. That's what the great separation is, and it's discussed more in that video, but I'll touch upon it in this video, the great confrontation. So when we're not being mindful, when we're not practicing presence, we tend to be thinking. We tend to be in this duality. We're thinking about doing stuff. We're thinking about solving problems. We often enter a confrontation because we're thinking. Sometimes even just sitting here peacefully, mindfully, if my mind suddenly starts to think, I could be entering a confrontation with myself. So I could be sitting here and then I'll be like, oh, I've forgotten to do the dishes. There's a thought has arisen, or a thought of, oh, but there's more important things to be doing than a video, Craig. So that's already a confrontation with myself. You could say that your mind is always trying to fix and solve things. That's its job. Our mind is here to keep us safe. So all the thoughts are trying to keep us safe, but they are obscuring the truth, the real awareness that's underneath, where there is no confrontation. There just is. There just is this isness, this beingness, this emptiness. So when we think, we obscure our true nature, our true self. You could say self with a capital S, not the little self, which is this mind that's trying to fix and control everything. So even when I'm sitting here, I may not be at peace. I may not be calm because I'm thinking about something else, something that I haven't done or have yet to do, or something that I'm bothered about, or wish or desire that I want. And therefore, I'm not truly here and I'm not truly now. I'm thinking about other things. And every time you think about other things, you easily stumble across a confrontation. There are, lovely thoughts which aren't really confrontational, but there are a lot of confrontations, and the more you think, the more you'll enter that. And you could sort of think of confrontation as comparison or criticism of your life. You might be comparing this body with another person's body. You might wish that you were like them or wanting to have what they have. That's a comparison. We might feel like we're a failure because we're comparing our actions with what we are expecting in our mind. We might get frustrated because something has happened that we didn't want. These are all confrontations. We might get angry. at the news or at something somebody has said to us. That's a confrontation. So life is filled with confrontations, and that's when we're in this duality, when we think we're separate and we're also distracted from our true nature, our self, our capital self. And our capital self is timeless, formless awareness. That's who we truly are. We're not just this mind that thinks. There's something beyond the mind. Beyond the mind is being. And when you be, the thoughts cease. The thoughts kind of evaporate. There's moments where there's not thinking happening, but yet life goes on. And nature, there's no thinking going on. The trees do what they do, the animals do what they do, the plants do what they do. Apples fall from the tree when the time is right. The apple's not thinking, I need to drop, I need to drop. It just happens. Life just happens, and life is full on. Life has all forms and things happening, all sorts of stuff happening all the time. But that's all happening with a greater kind of wisdom, a greater power, if you like, than our little mind up here that confronts and tries to change things. So it's very good practice to let go of our thinking mind. It's useful from time to time. I'm not saying don't ever think, because it's impossible. Thoughts will come. But it's very, very useful. And I'm seeing this more and more in my own life, And these are just words to try and inform you or remind you of that when I say I've entered separate self. And it's not really true. I have this wisdom behind that knows that whatever words I come out with cannot describe beingness or awareness in true fashion. It's all intuitive knowing, and it's not words and it's not thinking. But when I'm not thinking, there is just being, and everything feels peaceful and joyful and harmonious. There is no judgment, there is no confrontation. So, knowing this, when you look at the world and the current state of it, it's filled with contradictions and confrontations, as simple as you're fighting yourself, but you could also be fighting a relationship or fighting another person or fighting a country. The fighting can just expand. If someone has a different belief to you, they can be fighting. All of these beliefs, all of these rules, all of these mind concepts are just mind concepts. Beyond the mind is the true nature of life. So when we're confronting something, someone, some event, some country, we're losing touch with our true nature. Our true nature is one of compassion, kindness, happiness, peacefulness, the qualities of awareness. When you sit and look at yourself with awareness, you're not the person looking at yourself. The mind has stopped saying, I am this and I am that. Beyond that, sitting is happening, standing is happening, weather is happening, emotions are happening, thoughts are happening. You are none of all of these things. Underneath all of that is an awareness that can see, that can observe all of these things. That's the true nature. And when we sit with that awareness, timeless awareness, everything seems to settle. Every confrontation, every painful emotion, every sense that we've been wronged or we're a victim, our ego mind, whatever it's thinking, it eases. It starts to lessen, less and less and less. So the more mindful awareness, the more practicing we can do in just being, what tends to happen, and certainly is what's happening for my life, is a happiness is there. There's a peacefulness there, and it's always there. It's a joy to be. you notice that the things that come, the things that your mind focuses on, is inconsequential. They're not really important in the grand scheme of things. You can let a lot of them go. A lot of things can just come and go. There's really not a lot to control. There's really not a lot to fix. There's nothing to fix in yourself. All you need to do is come into being, and then you're not yourself, and all your problems about yourself go away. So, practicing meditation is a great tool, a great moment to be, and to start to notice the gaps between thinking, the spaces where, if you tune into that, become this joyful, wondrous experience. And we can live our life like this. It doesn't mean we don't do anything. Life happens. I'm going to get off this chair after I've done this video. I'm going to do some stuff. I'm not going to be not doing. But a lot of things are happening more spontaneously. They're more in the moment. They're more for my kindness to this body. They're more kind to whoever I'm dealing with. There's an understanding underneath thought that thoughts are not real, that underneath the truth is kind, compassionate action. It's kind for me to eat food when I'm hungry. It's kind for me to drink water when I'm thirsty. It's kind for me to move my body if it gets stiff or heavy. It's kind for me to look at my emotions when they arise and just allow them to be there. It's kind to my emotions. It's kind to animals and trees and wildlife if you treat them the same way, with kindness, with other people. It's kind to be compassionate to other people, to really listen to other people, to have conversations where you're not confrontational, where you're just listening, you're present for the other person, you're just being. You've emptied your mind of opinions, rules, criticisms, judgments, complaints. You are there in the conversation as timeless awareness. How can we serve what's happening in front of us? Awareness knows what the best action is to serve the current situation. So when I look at the world and I see there's a great confrontation, it's mainly because most people are in their ego mind. They're in their mind and they have a whole set of rules and hand-me-downs from the past and religions and belief systems. They have so much up here that they're not seeing reality. They're seeing reality from a filtered state. They're going through their mind first and they're going, oh, that's right, yes, like that. Oh no, that's not right, don't like that. Or I am a victim to this, or this is wrong, this is unfair, this needs work, this needs to be solved. This is all mind. It all comes from past experiences, especially if something has happened to you that caused you pain or caused you trauma. Then if you see that again in life, you're immediately wanting to solve it, to get rid of it, because you've experienced that difficulty yourself and you wouldn't want other people to experience that necessarily. So it's coming from a kind place, but you have to realize that beyond all these thought forms, all these locked in rule sets that you've created for yourself, and you haven't created them, people around you and time has created a lot of this stuff, that we're going to enter a confrontational state, and confrontation is not good for the greater good or the transforming of the world. The only way the world is going to transform is if we begin to love ourselves, if we begin to be more mindful with one another, we listen, we look for other people's suffering. We can clearly see other people suffering, their own internal confrontations with themselves or with other people. Every complaint or problem is a confrontation. This is what the Great Confrontation is. So we're noticing suffering, but sometimes the best response, or always the best response, first of all, is to come into being. If there's any problem in here, in my mind, about me, whoa, I stop. I go for a mindful walk. I look at trees, pictures of trees here. I pause and I breathe and I let go of my mind thinking that I've got a problem. That's the first step. I become not me. I become empty, formless, timeless presence. It's from my heart center. Looking inwards, when I'm in that position, when I've shifted from person to awareness, the problems go away. A joy and a happiness bubbles up, often humor that I had a problem in the first place, because this mind is just looking for problems. You can go behind it, you find there's no problems really. There's just situations and events that happen. And how we deal with them in that moment, we can deal with them very effectively if we're mindful and we're present for it. We don't need to analyze things too much. We don't need to compare things too much. Oh, I feel really rubbish today, but I was lovely last week. What's wrong with me? You don't need to look at last week. That's in the past. That's time. Time doesn't exist. Come back to now. Now is always here. How am I feeling now? What's the kindest thing I can do now for this moment, for this body? How am I feeling now? Can I be with now? Can I send kindness? Can I just be? You don't actually have to send kindness. Being is kindness. Awareness is kindness. Sitting, let the thoughts go by. When you sit, healing takes place. Healing takes place. Suffering eases. There is no suffering. The suffering is our mind thinking that things are wrong or bad or confrontational. So the next time you're in a confrontation, either with yourself or with another person, even if you're arguing with another person, if you have the wherewithal to be present and to have awareness there with you, you can go into awareness, which is your true nature, let go of all this obscuring thoughts. You'll be able to help that situation far more effectively than if you were carrying on arguing or just running an old pattern, an old habit of complaining or judging or criticizing. We have to start looking at these things and delving deeply into them, because the truth of them is just a lack of love. At some point in our life, we had a lack of love. Someone gave us something that was more fearful than love, and it's stuck in our mind. And so our mind is always on the lookout. It's always in fear, looking around, trying to keep ourselves safe, trying to keep things just right. But life isn't like that. Life's going to throw whatever's going to throw at you. How do we deal with those things in the moment? Being helps considerably with everything. Because if we're not looking at things as a victim or a wrongness or a problem, then we're not confrontationing what's happening. We're being with what's happening, whether it's our emotions, whether there's a physical problem, whether our car breaks down or our house roof caves in, whatever's going on for us, we can deal with it with resilience in the moment with our beingness, without any more judgment or criticism on what's happening. None of this, why me, woe is me, I wish, I don't like, I want. This is all ego thoughts, and these aren't real. These are just past stuff. Go behind those thoughts, enter being. You can do it right now. Just feel, just be, just feel your heart. Breathing in, awareness. Breathing out, awareness. Just be. Magically settles and shifts. You often find as well, the more being, you're tapping into a higher knowledge. You're tapping into universal consciousness. You've got so many options there. You get insights, you get wisdom, you get understanding, you get clarity. There's a realization or a recognition that the knowledge in awareness, the wisdom of awareness, knows how to cope, how to solve, how to be. Um, our mind is only a infinitesimal small part of that great wisdom. And most of our knowledge is from what we've read or what we've been taught, or what we believe. And we have to go beyond knowledge. There's a greater power, there's a higher source. Um, Sometimes when you meditate, insight comes. There's a recognition, there's a realization. One of the greatest realizations to discover is that you're not separate. It's an illusion. We are non-dualistic. Everything is one. Everything is wholeness. Everything is just appearing as shapes, and everything moves and flows and changes. The shapes change. Things happen all the time. Everything is in a state of flux, in a state of flow. There is no separation. And it takes a bit of practice to really embed that. The mind is struggles to understand it because it's kind of fighting for its own survival. That resistance, that struggle to wisdoms, is again your mind telling you it's wrong, it's not true, it's nonsense. You have to come away from all these judgments and be. The only way is being. It's the only way through. So notice your thoughts. Notice awareness behind your thoughts. Don't follow your thoughts, just allow them to be. They'll come, they'll go. You don't have to attach to them. You can disregard a lot of them. You can find your peaceful center. You can find your awareness. You'll have compassion. Understanding will grow. Kindness will grow. Happiness will bloom. You'll find you're more present for others. You'll find that relationships help. They are helped by your presence. You'll find other people will become less confrontational to you because you're not being confrontational to them. And so this whole video is a reminder to just notice when there's a confrontation and know that it comes from a mind that's based on old rule sets and is not the truth, is not reality. The reality is this, isness, life, life flowing, life appearing. We're just watching it, we're just observing it. If awareness can observe what is, then awareness is observing itself. And awareness knows what to do. So if you're stuck, if you're uncomfortable, if you're heavy, if you're moody, if you're depressed, being, come into your being. No more thinking. Well, no more following your thoughts. Just allow the thoughts to come and go. Don't invest in them. You don't have to believe them. Be mindful. Be mindful, which is using your senses to stay present. You can feel, you can hear, you can see, you can smell, you can taste, you can touch. Focus on those things. You'll be mindful. You can breathe, mindful breathing. You can drink your tea, mindful drinking your tea. You can walk, mindful walking. Feel the ground under your feet. Notice the sounds as you walk. Feel the sun on your face. This is awareness. This is not thinking. If you're thinking while you're walking and you're not aware that you are, you could lose yourself on the walk. Sometimes you suddenly come to and you're like, where am I? Why am I on this path? I missed my turn, because I was thinking. So too much thinking leads to forgetfulness of now, leads to not seeing now. Come back to now. Every time you can remember or you see that you've left the now, You've been on a journey in your head in imagination, or you've been thinking about issues and problems. You're confronting something. Come back to now. Your being is what is needed. And your being, as you practice it, will grow to, you'll just be more and more aware all the time and less in your head, this head. And life will improve, life gets easier, and you'll be much more helpful and kinder to others and yourself. And imagine if we had humanity all practicing mindfulness and beingness, and tuning into their feelings and their emotions, and realizing that these emotions are not about the current situation, and the thoughts are not about the current situation, because thoughts are always about time, they're always about the future or the past. You cannot think now because you're not now. So, realizing this, we suddenly realize that, well, what are we fighting for? What is this? What is this? We're fighting from some idea from the past. We're fighting because we feel we're wronged, or we think we're wronged. We don't feel we're wronged, we think it. So it's very, very interesting when you start this journey and you just be. But I'm here to tell you to just be. So the great confrontation is something that's happened in life through our illusion of separation and the fact that we're distracted in our heads, probably 24/7. We're constantly trying to solve a problem. There is no problem. This is telling you to come back to being, let all the problems drop. You have to deal with certain things, yes, but we can deal with them with our presence, with our compassion, without thinking too hard about them. We don't need to pick a side. We don't need to enter duality. As soon as you've entered duality, you're thinking. You versus something. I don't like this. I like this. You, I. The I separates you, but there is no I. So come back to now. I hope this has been a useful video. This is the third in a series. So keep tuned to the channel. I don't know when I'm going to be doing the other ones, but they'll come when the time is right. So everything comes when the time is right. There's no striving here. There's no judgment here. I'm not comparing myself. I am just here and I am just talking to you just now. And I feel it's been a good time to just sit here and do this. So thank you very much for watching. I'll speak to you again in another video. Thanks so much. Bye bye just now.